Please turn to page 7 for Refuge in Bodhicitta. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust-free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha. Homage to the Dharma refuge. Homage to the great Sangha. To all 3, ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms' atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. From Tushita's hundreds of gods, protector's heart, to tip of this fresh, pure white heath, curd like cloud, O Losandrapa, Dharma's omniscient king, pray come to this place with your disciples, in space ahead, on lion throne, lotus and moon, venerable Guru, smile brightly with delight, pray stay hundreds of eons to spread doctrine, as supreme merit, feel for my mind of faith. Your wisdom mind sees full range of knowables. Your eloquent speech adorns fortunate ears. Your beauteous body, fame, glory, outstanding. Homage to you, worthwhile to think of, hear, and see. Pleasant offerings of water, various flowers, fragrant incense, light perfume, and so on. Oceans of offerings set out and envisioned, offered up to you, supreme field of merit, non-virtue committed with body, speech, and mind, which I have heaped up since beginningless time, especially what has contradicted three vows. Each I confess from my heart with strong regret. In time of strife you strove to learn and practice, shunned eight mundane concerns, made life essence full. O protector from depths of our heart, we rejoice in your powerful great deeds. Venerable gurus from love and wisdom, clouds densely massed in your Dharmakaya sky, pray loose a rain of vast profound Dharma on fields of disciples just as needed. May whatever virtue that I've here gathered bring benefit to all beings and doctrine, and may it make Venerable Osondapa's essential teachings specially shine forever. Migmet sewe ter chen chen rezig, dreame kien pe wampo jam pelyam, du pu malu jong se song we dag, gan chen ke pe sung gen song kapa, lo san dra pe jab la so adem. O glorious and precious root group, pray take seed of lotus on my crown, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments of body, speech, and mind. O glorious and precious root guru, pray take seed of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments common and supreme. O glorious and precious root guru, pray take seed of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness, until supreme awakening remains steadfast. Homage to the exalted three jewels. Thus have heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Randragiri on Vulture Mountain, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. At that very time, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a child of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look perfectly like this, subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty, without characteristics. That is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, and no mental phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, and no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely and abide in the perfection of wisdom, and because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain the final state beyond sorrow. All the Buddhas who reside in the three times by relying upon the perfection of wisdom become manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it does not fall, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata gate gate parasom gate bodhisoha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child of the lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. In the holy supreme abode of the Dakinis, possessed of clairvoyance and miraculous power, unwaveringly caring for practitioners as your children, homage to the host of the three places Dakinis. Akasamara Sachidara Samara Pe. Akasamara Sachidara Pe. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasom Gate Bodhisoha. Through the power of the truth of the exalted three-jewel speech, may all on the side of negativity, such as the four Maras, be stopped. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. All enemies, obstructors, and hindrances, Shante Kure Soha. The 80,000 types of obstructors pacified, free from adverse and harmful conditions, may all be conducive and perfect auspiciousness, bring happiness and well-being here right now. Saji Puki Zhong Jing Me Tom Tramri Rabling Ji Ni Te Gempadi Sangye Jing Du Mi Te Ua Yi Jo Kunam Dak Jing La Jer Pasho Jesun Lama Dam Pa Kye Nam Ki Gu Kala Kien Se Dream Ne Ji Ta Tsam Te Du Je Ji Ma La Ja Ge Che Ki Cha Pa so. Idam Guru Rapandala Kaniyatayami. Sangye Cherdang Soke Chognam La Janchu Badu Dagni Chakti Dagi Chunyangi Pesonanki Drola Penche Sangye Dropa Sho. Sangye Cherdang Soke Chognam La Janchu Badu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chunyangi Pesonanki Drola Penche Sangye Dropa Sho. Sangye Chudang Soke Chognam La Janchu Badu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chunyengi Pesonamki Drola Penche Sangye Dropa Sho.
So let's start as we normally do with a few minutes meditation on the breath. So sit comfortably in a good meditation posture, mainly keeping your back straight. Bring your mind inside, away from external distractions. And once inside, keep it away from internal distractions, mainly the chattering, discursive mind. Find your breath where it goes out and comes in through your nostrils. So right there at the entrance of your nostrils is the focus of your concentration. Then generate a strong determination. Now I'm going to focus on my breath. Focusing at that point, focus on my breath without allowing myself to become distracted by anything whatsoever. So then with that strong determination, focus on your breath. If your mind does go off your breath, in the moment you notice that's happened, drop whatever thought or whatever it was distracted you, just come straight back to your breath. visualize throughout all of infinite space, on all sides, all around you. The infinite Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are sending you their enlightened energy and Bodhicitta in the form of radiant white light, whose nature is bliss. And inside you, all your ignorance and other delusions, negative karma, suffering, illness, whatever you consider to be undesirable, it's inside you in the form of thick black smoke. When you breathe in, visualize you breathing in the radiant white light the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are sending to you. So they actually are sending this, but we can't see it, so we have to visualize it. Sending you their blissful, radiant white light, enlightened energy. Breathe in. As you breathe in, it fills your body and mind with light and bliss. When you breathe out, the white light flushes out all your delusions, negative karma, etc., in the form of thick black smoke. So when you breathe out through both nostrils together, breathing out that black smoke, and it goes away from you across the horizon, dissolves into nothingness, and no longer exists anywhere. So again, when you breathe in the radiant white light, fills your body and mind with radiant light and bliss. When you breathe out, all the negativity comes out in the form of thick black smoke across the horizon, dissolves, no longer exists. So do that a few times. breathe out, all the negativity in the form of black smoke disappears, no longer exists. Breathe in radiant white light. Just hold the visualization of your body full of radiant white light, body and mind. Your body is like a body of light, non-material, radiant, translucent. In nature blissful. Just feel you're completely full of enlightened energy. Now visualize all sentient beings surrounding you on all sides, front, back, right, left, above, below, intermediate directions, everywhere, throughout infinite space. So you can visualize them, as I mentioned earlier, one of the previous weeks. You can visualize them appearing like on the same level as you in human aspect, stretching infinitely around you all sides. In human aspect, but experiencing the sufferings of the different realms, the 6 realms. Or you can visualize them in the realms, sort of like the wheel of life depicts. So below you the sentient beings in the hell realms, and to the left, below you, the hungry ghosts, to the right below you, the animals, level with you, human beings, and above you to the left there's the asuras, the non-gods, above you to the right, the suras, so those 2 celestial realms above you. So all sentient beings in those realms experiencing all the different sufferings they have to undergo. This is more difficult if you haven't studied and meditated on the different realms of cyclic existence. But anyway, according to what you know, visualize the sentient beings like that. So now when you breathe in, take all their sufferings upon yourself in your in-breath. You take on all their sufferings, their delusion, their karma, all their negativities. And when you breathe it in, it gathers like a heavy black object, which smashes down onto the self-cherishing thought at your heart. Your ego, your self-cherishing. You know, the mind that puts your happiness before everybody else's. You take on all sentient beings suffering. It's like a heavy black rock, and it smashes down on the self-cherishing at your heart, which disappears. And when you breathe out the white, enlightened energy. Send that to all sentient beings. When they receive that white light energy that you send out, they also become enlightened. So then on the next in-breath again, do the same thing, take on all their sufferings, delusions, negative karma. Smash your self-cherishing, completely disappears. You're full of enlightened energy, which you, when you breathe out, you send it out to sentient beings, bringing them to enlightenment. Take on all sentient beings suffering onto your self-cherishing and send them all the positive energy you have. Health, merit, wisdom, compassion. Take on their suffering, give them all happiness. Think the purpose of my life is to free all sentient beings from suffering and bring them to enlightenment. In order to do that, first I have to attain enlightenment myself. And attaining enlightenment depends on realizing the principal cause of enlightenment, the seed of enlightenment, Bodhicitta. And to do that, I have to study the teachings on Bodhicitta. So that's why I'm here this morning at this class, to study Buddha's teachings on Bodhicitta. that thought is generating bodhicitta. So because for us it's a mainly intellectual exercise, we call it artificial bodhicitta. Lama Rinpoche calls it effortful bodhicitta. You have to make an effort to think that. It doesn't arise spontaneously within us. Yet. So by generating the thought, studying the teachings, practicing the meditations, gradually our artificial bodhicitta can become the real thing. So we've been talking about how to develop bodhicitta the last few weeks. So up there we have the outline of the so the first level of training is training our mind in the stages of the path shed with a small scope. And then training our mind in the stages of the path shed with a medium scope. And the main one we're doing right now is this one, training our mind in the great scope stages of the path. So that has these 3 sections, this one. Can you read that? Teaching the development of bodhicitta, the sole gateway to the Mahayana, and teaching its benefits. So Geshe did that before he went to India. When's he back? Next week? Tomorrow. That's next week. I guess. Depends when you start the week. Could be this week. So he'll continue from there, I guess. Clear up all the wrong conceptions I've imparted. Then there's the way to develop bodhicitta, which is what we're focusing on here. And then there's, after developing bodhicitta, the way to train in the bodhisattva's deeds. So the way to develop bodhicitta, that has these 3, the actual stages, developing bodhicitta through the ritual of taking vows, so 18 root vows, 46 secondary vows of bodhicitta. Has Geshe given bodhisattva vows? Initiation. Yeah, so maybe if somebody hasn't taken them, you could ask him. Then there's what to do after developing bodhicitta. As you can see, there's nothing to do. Just kind of relax. Watch TV. So the actual stages. Which is what we've been talking about. Then training the mind by means of the 7-fold cause and effect meditation instructions. We've done all that. So just to reiterate, immeasurable equanimity, then the actual 7-fold training. So after developing equanimity, understanding sentient beings to be the mother, remembering their kindness, repaying their kindness, meditating on the love, great compassion, altruism or extraordinary intention, developing bodhicitta. So those are the 6 causes and the 1 effect. So we did that. Then there's the second part, is training your mind through exchanging self and others. So that has these 7 sections, teaching the preliminaries on which the Dharma depends, training the 2 types of bodhicitta, ultimate and relative, converting unfortunate circumstances into a path to enlightenment, so converting circumstance through thought and through action, teaching a practice to be applied to whole life, criteria having trained your mind, 18 commitments of mind training, 22 pieces of advice. So I'm going to continue looking at Ribu Rinpoche's teaching on how to generate bodhicitta. So this is so exchanging oneself and others. So we did the first part of this last week. So we just finished off the introductory section, saying if you compare the instructions of 7-point cause and effect and exchanging oneself with others, the 5 points of recognizing all beings as mother, remembering their kindness, wishing to repay their kindness, extraordinary intention, bodhicitta are the same. However, there's a difference when we come to the 2 points of affectionate love and great compassion. The strength of these feelings is different in the 2 practices. How is that? It's because when you meditate on the kindness of sentient beings according to the 7-point cause and effect instruction, you recollect how kind they were when they were your mother. Whereas when you meditate according to the instruction exchanging oneself with others, you recollect their kindness not only when they were your mother, but also at other times when they were not your mother. This meditation is more extensive. Therefore, when you train your mind in the instructions of exchanging oneself with others, the strength of your affectionate love and great compassion will be greater than when training the mind in the 7-point technique of cause and effect. So the aim of these instructions is to train your mind in actually exchanging yourself with others, and the way to push the mind in that direction is by contemplating both the faults of cherishing oneself and the advantages of cherishing others. Therefore, the next step in the meditation is contemplating the many faults or disadvantages of cherishing oneself. So here we see this second, the preliminaries. So we did the preliminaries, they're like these points that Rinpoche just mentioned from the 7-fold cause and effect meditation. And the second section here is training the 2 types of bodhicitta, ultimate and relative. So this relative is what we're talking about, conventional. So meditating how self and others are equal, we did that before. And now what Rinpoche is saying here is contemplating the many faults resulting from self-cherishing. So the source of these instructions on recognizing the disadvantages of self-cherishing thought or egoism are texts such as Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and Guru Puja, which we're very familiar with. We do it twice a month here. There's a verse in the Guru Puja that says, "This chronic disease of cherishing ourselves is the cause giving rise to our unsought suffering. Perceiving this, we seek your blessings to blame, begrudge, and destroy the monstrous demon of selfishness." Sound familiar? I mean, not from our meditations, from doing Guru Puja. So that's a familiar verse from Guru Puja. A verse from Bodhicharyavatara says, "All the suffering in the world comes from the desire for one's own happiness." All the suffering in the world comes from the desire for one's own happiness, and so forth. In the root text of the 7-point thought transformation, and that's an appendix in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, because when Pabonka Rinpoche gave this teaching on the Lam Rim, he then discussed that text a bit. In the 7-point thought transformation, it says, "Banish the one to blame for everything." Banish the one to blame for everything. This means that all suffering, whatever unwanted problems, obstacles, shortcomings, and sufferings that exist, should be blamed on self-cherishing alone. All suffering includes not only the problems that you yourself experience in your life, but from the larger point of view, it also includes wars between countries, disagreements between leaders of different countries, disagreements at work, arguments within a family, such as husband and wife fighting or parents and children fighting, and so forth. All these unwanted experiences come from egoism, the thought of cherishing oneself, and thus they should be blamed on the self-cherishing thought. Another example of disadvantages of the self-cherishing thought, let's say you eat too much and get indigestion and maybe even die from that. Although it may seem that the cause is some kind of digestive ailment, in fact the real cause of the problem is that your self-cherishing mind was not satisfied but wanted more and more food. So you died not from indigestion but from self-cherishing. Even in situations where it seems you are not responsible, for example, you're falsely accused of having done something wrong, or you're robbed of your possessions or killed, even in these situations the cause is self-cherishing thought. These experiences are the result of your past evolutionary actions, karma, which were motivated by self-cherishing thought. In past lives, due to egoism, wanting happiness just for yourself, you harmed others, robbed and killed. In this life, you're experiencing the results of those actions. Therefore, those sufferings are to be blamed only on egoism, the self-cherishing thought. In the past, we know karma. We all know about karma, right? Heard of it? We live it every day, every moment. So, with karmic actions, there are 4 kinds of results. There's and those 4 kinds of karmic results are divided into 2. Correct? The 2 are the parents of the 4. Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? So the throwing karma and completing karma. Ah, yeah, heard of that too. So throwing karma is precipitating karma, sometimes called maturation result, different names. It determines where you're going to be born. upper realms, lower realms, human, animal, whatever. And once you've been thrown into that life, then karma continues to do its job and complete that life, the good and the bad. So there's the result similar to the cause, and then the environmental result. And the result similar to the cause has two. The result similar to the cause in action, in habit, where you you have a tendency to keep doing the same thing, and the result similar to the cause in experience, where what you do unto others ripens upon you. So you reap what you sow. And then the environmental result, you can be born into a good situation, like we seem to be, relatively speaking at the moment, or you could be born in an area consumed by bushfires, for example. So that's kind of environmental karmic result. So all this is a result of self-cherishing, all these negative karmic results. In the past you were born countless times in the 3 lower realms. This too was due to self-cherishing. The self-cherishing thought motivated you to create the causes to experience the sufferings of rebirth as a hungry ghost, as a hell being, and as an animal. For example, being born as a hungry ghost is a result of miserliness, which in turn comes from egoism, cherishing yourself more than others. Also, if out of self-cherishing you point out the physical faults of someone, saying that his face resembles that of an animal, you create the cause to be born as an animal. Therefore, all the sufferings you experienced in countless rebirths in the 3 lower realms come from nothing other than self-cherishing thought. From an ordinary point of view, the egotistic, self-cherishing thought causes us so much harm. For example, because of holding yourself in high esteem, feeling that you are so great, when you meet someone who seems better than you, you become miserable with envy. When you meet someone who's equal to you, you want to compete with that person. For example, you could be a businessman who always wants to be on top. That competitive attitude leads to so many problems. Then when you meet people who are lower than you, you bully them, put them down and point out their faults. All this comes from self-cherishing thought, feeling that you are so important, so high, so good. Because of these actions, you create a great deal of problems in the present as well as the causes for future problems and suffering. Actually, if you think about all the disadvantages of a self-cherishing thought, they're inconceivable. In brief, all the sufferings and difficulties that you've encountered from beginningless time until now, and all the unwanted experiences in cyclic existence are caused by self-cherishing thought. In fact, all the sufferings of cyclic existence are caused both by self-grasping ignorance and the self-cherishing thought. From the philosophical point of view, these are two different things, self-grasping ignorance and self-cherishing thought. But in the context of mind training, they're considered to be the same. On the one hand, there is self-grasping, grasping a true identity, a true I. And on the other hand, there's a mind that instead of letting go of the I, cherishes it, thinking, I want to be happy, I need this, I need that. That is a self-cherishing thought, and on that basis, all suffering, all unwanted experiences and negativities are generated. Therefore, it is the one to blame for everything. So that's one of the aphorisms in the 7-point mind training. Those of us who practice Dharma must think continuously over and over again about the disadvantages of the self-cherishing thought and the advantages of cherishing others, taking care of others rather than oneself. We also need to consider the disadvantages of taking care of this life and the advantages of preparing for the next life. These are things we need to do. So it's the second one there, contemplating the many faults resulting from self-cherishing. So when we meditate on that, we start just meditating on our life and thinking of all the things that have gone wrong, things that could go wrong, and see how it's related to self-cherishing. How out of self-cherishing we create all these different negative karmas, thinking only of ourselves and our own happiness, and then we have to experience all those results. So the next one is the advantages of cherishing others. This point is clearly stated in the Bodhicharyavatara by Shantideva, which says, all the happiness of the world comes from altruism. Also, there's a verse in the Guru Puja which says, again, will be familiar, I see that cherishing these beings, my mothers, is the thought that leads to happiness and the door leading to infinite qualities. The root text of the 7-point thought transformation says, meditate on the great kindness of all sentient beings. So we talked a couple of weeks ago, I think, was it? How, why we say, purpose of my life is to free all sentient beings from suffering leading to enlightenment. So some people might say, huh? Really? Why is that? So you think that happiness, all good things are the ripening of positive karma. Positive karma comes from the Dharma. The Dharma comes from the Buddha, taught by Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. This Dharma that we practice, the teachings about karma, and benefits of creating positive karma, comes from the Buddha. The Buddha comes from Bodhisattva. So before Guru Shakyamuni Buddha became enlightened, he was a Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva comes from Bodhicitta. Remember, the principal cause of enlightenment. Bodhicitta comes from great compassion. So compassion is wanting others to be free from suffering. Love is wanting others to be happy. So great compassion is wanting each and every single sentient being, without exception, to be free from suffering. It's not just compassion, it's great compassion. And it's felt equally towards those who are close to us and those we've never met, and those who try to harm us. So in generating great compassion, it's generated on the object of all sentient beings, without excluding even one. So that's how all sentient beings are really the source of all our happiness and good things that we experience. Because by meditating on great compassion for all sentient beings, the Buddha in previous life developed Bodhicitta, became a Buddha, turned the wheel of Dharma, and that's come down to us over the last 2,600 years, whatever. So we can practice and create merit and create the cause for better future lives and enlightenment. Meditate on the great kindness of all sentient beings. So on the basis of these quotations from Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Guru Puja, 7-point thought transformation, you should realize the advantages of cherishing others. For instance, all the happiness of the human rebirth and other fortunate rebirths, having perfect wealth, surroundings, relations and so forth, comes from altruism, cherishing others. I don't know about altruism. Doesn't sound like a particularly strong word. I don't know if there's a better one. Anyway, it's being used here in the context of cherishing others. Why? Due to cherishing others' lives, you abandon killing. And the result of abandoning killing is a fortunate rebirth and also a long life. So having a long life and a fortunate rebirth comes directly from having abandoned killing because of cherishing others' lives. Also, having perfect wealth and surroundings is a result of abandoning stealing and practicing generosity, both of which are done on the basis of cherishing others. In brief, as it says in the Bodhicharyavatara, there's no need to elaborate more than this. Just look at the childish beings who work for their own benefit and the Buddhas who work for the benefit of others. And there's a verse in the Guru Puja that says, in short, childish beings work only for their own welfare, while Buddhas act solely for the benefit of others. Childish beings act solely for themselves, thinking of their own happiness, in the same way that a child thinks only about himself. On the other hand, the Buddhas became enlightened by cherishing others, without needing to go into detail. Just by looking at the differences between these two types of being and their actions, we can clearly recognize the differences between self-cherish and cherishing others. Consider Buddha Shakyamuni. In the past, since from beginningless times, Buddha Shakyamuni has been like us, had been like us, trapped in cyclic existence. Then at some point he began to cherish others, and on the basis of practicing altruism was able to fulfill the two purposes of attaining enlightenment and leading others to enlightenment. Now look at ourselves. Because of continuously caring for ourselves alone, cherishing ourselves, we haven't been able to achieve even our own purpose, but have been wandering in psychic existence in the three lower realms again and again since beginningless time. We don't need to go into much detail, just compare the results of Buddha Shakyamuni's actions and our own. One comes from cherishing others, and the other comes from egoism, cherishing ourselves. Therefore, by following the self-cherishing thought, no good will come about, only the three unfortunate rebirths. Sure. Well, it depends on your motivation. You know, I mean, you can abandoning killing is the very fundamental first precept that you take when you take refuge. The first obligation of taking refuge is to not to give harm to others. So it's kind of fundamental, but you know, you can abandon killing as part of the lower scope, and just, I don't want to be reborn in the lower realms, and so to not being reborn, the main thing to avoid being reborn in the 3 lower realms is practice of morality, and sort of abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions, again the first of which is killing. So you can do it with that motivation, and that can be the result to receive an upper rebirth. Or you can do it as part of the middle scope, just wanting to escape from cyclic existence altogether. So if you want to escape from cyclic existence, of course you have to abandon killing as well as do other things. And there are the 3 higher trainings: a higher training in morality, higher training in concentration, higher training in wisdom, which we practice to escape from cyclic existence and attain liberation, individual liberation, and then can be as part of the great scope. So it depends on your motivation, which path you're practicing. What was the question? Yeah, well, I mean, this is a teaching on bodhicitta, so that's the context in which he's saying this. He's not saying it's the only way that you can abandon killing, I don't think, is because you cherish the lives of others. I mean, if you cherish your own life properly, then you'll abandon killing too, of course. Yeah. Yeah, still don't. Yeah, that's why I said to Lama Rinpoche, I feel like a hypocrite when I say I'm doing this for the benefit of all sentient beings, because in my heart is really I'm just doing it for myself, and I'm not even convinced that I'm going to benefit myself doing this, but it seems like a good idea. Then that's what he said, well, you just got to start with the words, and gradually as you become familiar with the words and study teachings and you put things into practice and you gain a little bit of experience, you're sort of motivated to go further and further until eventually you can get a realization. But we're not going to have realizations of the meaning of the words until we've done a lot of purification and created a lot of merit as well. Yeah, well, we start from the selfish place we're in, and we're not going to abandon selfishness overnight either. It's going to be there for a long time still, I think. So it's a process. Well, it does. It doesn't say that from your own, all the happiness of human rebirth and other fortunate rebirths comes from cherishing others. The Buddha cherished others, and he gave us these teachings, and we put them into practice, and we gain all these good results. So it could mean that too. Yes. But he's not saying either necessarily personally. Anyway, you could interpret it another way, saying that all the happiness of a human rebirth and other fortunate rebirths, having perfect wealth, surrounding relations, comes from altruism, cherishing others. It comes from the Buddha, having cherished others and giving us the teachings so that we can put them into practice and attain these good results. I'm not sure if that's what he meant, but well, you can pretty much always bet it's attachment. Well, when you're trying not to follow, motivation's like really hard. It's the most important thing in a way, but it's hard to know what our real motivation is, as I mentioned in that exchange with Rinpoche. It's like if we don't, like at the beginning, we have to consciously motivate. I mean, did anyone leave home thinking, I'm going to the centre this morning in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings? Or you just kind of, it's Sunday morning, I've got to go to the centre, So, if we are aware, when we wake up, first we should be surprised that we woke up, because during the night so many other people have died around the world for one way or another. So now that I've got, looks like another day, I really should make the most of this opportunity, and the best way to do that is to work for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So if we can start off just before we even get out of bed, thinking of bodhicitta and thinking, this life, this year, this month, this week, this day, I'm going to devote my life to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Then everything we do on that day, if it's positive, is kind of has that flavour in it. Of course, when we get up and start having breakfast, that motivation's probably gone out the window. So we may need to keep reminding ourselves. So if you get on the car or however you get here, you think, now I'm going to centre in order to study bodhicitta, to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Then the whole trip is you're generating bodhicitta, so with incredible benefits that we don't really feel, we don't know, but it's what our teachers tell us, so we have faith in that. But anyway, it's hard. So that's why we have to keep consciously generating artificial bodhicitta, or putting effort. Lama Zopa calls it effortful bodhicitta. I don't know if is effortful a word. I'm not sure. We have to put effort into reminding ourselves just of the words. Why I'm doing this, why I'm here, why I'm coming here. At this point, Lama Dorji Chung Pabonka Rinpoche, would tell stories from the life of Drukpa Kunle, a great meditator of the Drukpa Kagyu tradition, who was famous for having an unusual way of speaking which made people laugh. There's a book written about him. He's very famous in Bhutan. Anyone been to Bhutan? What? One day, Drukpa Kunle went to Lhasa and paid a visit to the Jokang, the main temple in Lhasa, where you find the Jo, a very famous statue of Buddha Shakyamuni. Normally you enter and pay homage to the Jo, then you circumambulate and take blessings. Drukpa Kunle did this, but he circumambulated the statue and took blessings. But then he stood directly in front of the Jo and said, "In the past, you and I were the same. But then you began to practice altruism and to take care of others, so you have become a perfect Buddha. I've been taking care of only myself, and I'm still in samsara. Indeed, I should now prostrate to you." So we don't have to go to Lhasa, we can do that right here. You know? Drupa Kunle was an unconventional yogi. He would express the Dharma truth in a very humorous way. So there's a book written about him, translated by Keith Dowman, called The Divine Madman. Anyone seen that? Is Karen here? Do we have it? I don't know if we have it in the library. Oh. I thought it was making a noise with the microphone. Unconventional yogi. It's said that he once visited the Bodhinath Stupa. It's funny, Keith Dowman, who did this book on Drukpa Kunle, he also wrote a book about the Bodhinath Stupa, which has an unusual shape, unlike other stupas which are built in one of the 8 standard designs. Well, that one's not a standard design either, the Kalachakra Stupa. But there are 8 standard designs, Enlightenment Stupa, I don't know what the others are. Originally, that's what Damcha had the idea to build a stupa, and he asked Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and he was going to build an Enlightenment stupa, which is one of the common designs. And then Rinpoche said, no, do a Kalachakra stupa, which has this unusual ball thing in it, you know. When he arrived at the stupa, he prostrated and said, "Although you look like a round heap, and not like one of the 8 stupas gone to bliss, I still prostrate to you." Another time he said, "I've lost 3 very important precious things." When asked what it was that he'd lost, he said, "One precious thing which I lost is called ignorance. Another one is called desire, and a third one is called aversion. I've lost these 3 things which others regard as important and cherish so much." This shows his achievements, but it was expressed in an unusual, funny way. At any rate, Drukpa Kunle was a great adept, and I think there's a translation of his biography containing all these stories. So, he was a great advocate for sex. In fact, one of the stories is called "Selling Penises Outside the Nunnery." Don't laugh. And if I haven't been to Bhutan, but visitors to his monastery in Bhutan are welcome to enjoy a short trek up the hill. The monastery is very modest, only one small building, but it contains a wooden and ivory lingam through which one can obtain blessings from a monk in residence. So he introduced phallus paintings in Bhutan. So the monasteries have all these erect peni. Apparently it's all over Bhutan. Have you been? Yeah. No. Well, he says phallus paintings, they're esoteric symbols which have their origin in the Chimi Lakang monastery. That's Drukpa Kunle's monastery. near. You can't read that, can you? You can see the picture. Yeah, you can prostrate to it. The village monastery was built in honour of Lama Drukpa who lived in the 15th, 16th century. He was popularly known as the Mad Saint, Nyempa, divine madman, for his unorthodox ways of teaching, which amounted to being bizarre and shocking. These explicit paintings, though embarrassing to many urbanites, feel yourselves included, this folk culture is now informally discouraged in urban centres, can be seen painted on the walls of houses and buildings throughout Bhutan, particularly in villages, and are credited as Kunli's creations. Traditionally, symbols of an erect penis in Bhutan have been intended to drive away the evil eye and malicious gossip. Anyway, I refer you to Wikipedia. Well, he migrated from Tibet, was trained in Ralung Monastery, which belonged to a period of Pema Lingpa, his disciple, whose crazy saint who extensively travelled in Bhutan, was fond of women and wine and adopted blasphemous and unorthodox ways of teaching Buddhism. His sexual exploits included his hosts and promoters. He was utterly devoid of all social conventions and called himself the madman from Kishadrog. His intention was to shock the clergy, who are uppity and prudish in their behaviour and teachings of Buddhism. However, his ways appealed to lay practitioners. It was he who propagated the legend of painting phalluses on walls and hanging phalluses from rooftops of houses to drive away evil spirits and subdue demonesses. He is therefore called the fertility saint, as the monastery he built, Chimislakang, is visited by not only Bhutanese women, but also people from the United States and Japan. Kunli's organ, as painted, is called the Thunderbolt of Flaming Wisdom. What? Come on, guys, I lost my place. Flaming wisdom, as it unnerved demons and demonesses and subdued them. It's also said that he is perhaps the only saint in the religions of the world who is almost exclusively identified with phallus and its creative power. Well, there's Shiva, I think also. It is also for this reason that his phallus, as a symbol, is depicted in paintings on the walls of houses, and he's shown in tanka paintings holding a wooden stick with a penis head. It's also said he peed on tankas, which is not recommended for us ordinary people. Huh? Oh, I don't know that. I didn't. I was so shocked I couldn't read to the end. Anyway, you can study Drukpa Kunli in your own time. Just I like the story of selling penises outside the nunnery. So I'm not sure what this has to do with cherishing others. Therefore, we should consider what Buddha Shakyamuni achieved by cherishing others and compare this with the difficulties we are still experiencing because of cherishing ourselves alone. It's very useful to read the stories of Buddha Shakyamuni's previous lives when he was still practicing on the path as related, for example, in the Jataka tales, Buddha's previous life stories. These stories show how he performed many incredible deeds in order to cherish others, and thus they can inspire us to practice thought transformation. So it's at this point in the meditation that you reflect on the kindness of sentient beings, both when they were your mother and when they were not. This reflection becomes very helpful because you realize even more reasons to cherish others rather than to cherish yourself. To give an easy example of the kindness of others when they were not one's mother, the simple fact that we're able to gather in this room and enjoy listening to Mahayana Dharma is completely due to the kindness of others. Many people put in a great deal of effort so that we can be here. First of all, there may have been another building here that had to be torn down, and that required a number of workers, and so on. Therefore, the fact that we can enjoy coming together here today and listening to Mahayana Dharma is entirely due to the kindness of others. The same applies to your own home, your belongings, the things you enjoy. All of these are due to the kindness of others. You might say, no, this is not true. I bought my house with my own money. I bought my clothes with my own money. Yes, that's true, but you earned your money on the basis of others. Okay, I got my mother's money from others, but this is because I worked hard. I did something to receive this money in return. Yes, but the fact that you're able to work is because of others, isn't it? If you think about it carefully, you'll see that whatever happiness you now enjoy comes exclusively from the kindness of others, like our parents. When you reflect on the advantages of cherishing others, it's very effective to incorporate all these different thoughts. You can also contemplate that all the benefits right up to attain Buddha's state comes from because of cherishing others. How's this? If you want to become a Buddha, you must generate the precious mind of Bodhicitta, because without Bodhicitta there's no Buddha. The generation of Bodhicitta, it was what we said before, generation of Bodhicitta comes about because of the wish to benefit others. I must achieve a state of enlightenment in order to benefit others. So even just generating the thought depends on each and every other sentient being. You can't leave one out, you know. I must achieve enlightenment in order to benefit everybody else except Donald Trump. You can't think like that. Also, the exceptional cause of bodhicitta is great compassion, and great compassion comes from cherishing others. Therefore, it's because of others that you practice great compassion. Furthermore, the practice of the 6 perfections depends on others. For example, you practice morality in relation to others. In order to practice generosity and patience, you need an object. These objects are others. It's so true what Shantideva taught in Bodhicharyavatara when he says, both victorious ones and sentient beings are indispensable to achieving supreme enlightenment. And since I pay homage to the victors, the Buddhas, why don't I pay homage to sentient beings as well? So that's a very pithy verse from Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. This is saying that the achievement of supreme enlightenment is half due to the kindness of the Buddhas and half due to the kindness of sentient beings. When we give so much importance to honouring the Buddha, why don't we give the same importance to honouring sentient beings who are equally indispensable to our achievement of enlightenment? As the great master Langri Tangpa says in his 8 verses of thought transformation, I can achieve a supreme state of enlightenment due to the kindness of sentient beings. Therefore they are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, and I should cherish them to that extent. There are so many heartwarming instructions on the kindness of sentient beings. Okay, so this kind of goes on for a while in that vein. There's a really great little book, you know, which you can read online. You know, it's just so, and more extensive teachings on bodhicitta, as I mentioned, in Lama Zopa Rinpoche's book, which I think we have in the bookstore or probably in the library. So just to move on to the next one, the actual contemplation. See that number 4? The actual contemplation on the interchange or exchange of self and others. So now we come to the 4th step in the meditation, which is the actual thought of exchanging oneself with others. What is meant by exchanging oneself with others? Prior to this, we contemplated deeply the disadvantages of cherishing oneself, realizing that all unwanted experiences and bad things come from egoism. Like a chronic disease which slowly, gradually destroys your health and physical form, self-cherishing thought has from beginningless time been the source of all your suffering and problems. On the other hand, all the good things, good qualities, happiness, advantages and so forth, derive from cherishing others, from altruism. Realizing this, you now begin to train your mind in exchanging the thought which cherishes oneself and disregards others for the thought that cherishes others and disregards yourself. Until now, we've been disregarding others and taking care of ourselves. And where has it got us? But from now on, we have to take care of others and disregard ourselves. Exchanging oneself with others doesn't mean that you take others in your place and put yourself in others' place. Instead, it means that you exchange the mind that cherishes oneself and ignores others with the mind that cherishes others and ignores oneself. You need to meditate on this again and again, because it's totally counterintuitive, continuously, and in this way, train your mind in exchanging yourself with others. So it's like what His Holiness the Dalai Lama calls wise selfishness. You heard of that? It says, selfishness is wanting the best for yourself, generally speaking, the common meaning of the word. So if you really want the best for yourself, His Holiness says, you need to put others first and yourself last. So, and in that way, that's the way to attain enlightenment, which is doing the very, very best for yourself. And that's the kind of the wisest form of selfishness. Wise selfishness. Do everything for others and nothing for yourself. Then we think, oh, what about me? If I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? There's self-cherishing right there. Pardon? No. Well, that may be the result, but you don't even think about that. I mean, is the idea, because well, you know, if everybody stopped taking care of themselves and took it, that means everybody else would be taking care of you, and you wouldn't have to worry about it because everyone else would be doing it. But of course, that's not going to happen quite right now. But it's an attitude to develop. You know, it doesn't mean you don't have to feed yourself and sit around thinking, who's going to bring me breakfast if I don't do it? You know, I mean, we live in the real world, but we change our attitude for doing things. You know, normally we eat breakfast for ourselves. Well, this time we're eating breakfast for others. You know, if I eat breakfast, then I don't have to think about food. I won't be hungry, and I can really devote myself more fully to thinking about others and doing stuff for others. I think ultimate bodhicitta, you mean? What's relative emptiness? Yeah, so, well, the two truths are ultimate truth and relative or conventional truth. And ultimate truth is the realization of, the emptiness of inherent existence. And conventional truth, or the other one, is basically essentially karma, you know, the way things work on the conventional level. Basically, that's karma. Ultimate bodhicitta, which is there, you know, is the bodhisattva's realization of emptiness. So it's the realization of emptiness on the basis of the bodhicitta motivation. But it's really just it's realization of the prasangika view of emptiness. Again, I lost the question. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a question, again, it's a question of motivation. Normally, when we think about breakfast, we think, what would I like today? Would I like toast, or would I like granola, or would I like a beer? I mean, whatever, champagne and oysters. So normally we think, what would I like? What do I feel like this morning? Whereas really, it's just, eating, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, is just like, it should be just like putting gas in the car, just to keep the body going, so that you can work for sentient beings. And but actually, every time we eat, there's quite an extensive meditation. There's Lama Zopa. We put a little booklet out called The Yoga of Offering Food, which isn't available as a booklet anymore, but I think it's online. And if you've ever eaten with Lama Zopa, has anyone had lunch or anything with Lama Zopa Rinpoche? I mean, he can spend an hour or two offering the food, and doing this extensive meditation. Transforming the whole experience of eating breakfast into this most amazing meditation on sentient beings and enlightenment. And sometimes people get him to do the meditation first with the food still in the kitchen, and then they bring out the food so that it won't get cold. I remember at a Kopan course once, he did a abbreviated food offering before lunch at the course. There were a couple hundred people there. And so the discourse finishes and everyone's really hungry and they want to rush down and get their food. So he did this kind of fairly long meditation and people are getting very antsy. And then he said, it's better to have cold food intentionally than being born a sentient being that has no option than to eat cold food. So, if we spend a lot of time offering the food and doing this transforming meditations and so on, and the food gets cold, by the time, if you've done the meditation properly, who cares, because it's not about taste or texture or temperature. It's about just keeping the body going, and so you can practice Dharma. Whereas if you're born a fish in the depths of the, what's the name of that trench? Huh? That's the deepest part of the ocean, yeah. So it's cold down there. So if you're born a fish down there, there's no warm food, And probably not much bodhicitta meditation either. What's it called? Mariana's Trench? Okay. So then the fifth one, with these serving as the basis, contemplating the faults, contemplating the good qualities, the actual contemplation, the way to meditate on giving and taking. So, we did very tiny kindergarten level version of that at the beginning, taking on others' suffering and giving away our happiness and merit and so on. The most detailed meditation on this I've seen is in Lama Zopa Rinpoche's Lam Rim book, Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun, Meditation 7, the 7 techniques of Mahayana cause and effect. So these are big pages. What do you call this, legal size? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 and 10 pages. As I breathe in through my right nostril, as I breathe in through my left nostril, I contemplate. I mean, it's just like you do it realm by realm, sentient being by sentient being almost, it's extremely complicated. It's called Tonglen, taking and giving. So you take suffering of others onto yourself. The very thing that self-cherishing hates is taking on experiencing suffering. So the farthest thing is taking on other suffering. It's hard enough to deal with my own. But to combat self-cherishing, we do that. And then things we give away, our body, our happiness, our merit, everything, all our material possessions. The very things that we cling to, that self-cherishing really cherishes, we give away in meditation. So the professional level is this 10-page one. We're not there. So we can practice it. The meditation on giving and taking, Tonglen. On the basis of the thought of exchanging oneself with others, you practice a meditation on giving and taking. What is giving and taking? With the mind of compassion, you take on the suffering of others, and with the mind of love, you give them happiness. So we did it. We can take other suffering in the form of the black smoke, the stuff before that we blew out. We take it on, and the way Rinpoche describes it, that because it was so abbreviated what I was doing before, So when you breathe in, you contemplate, I'm taking over the suffering of all sufferings of the hell beings, for example. As I breathe in through my right nostril, all the sufferings enter in the form of very dark, horrible fogs. These fogs become a thunderball as great as Mount Meru, the greatest mountain in the world, and it plummets with the fearful force of lightning of a dangerous electrical storm, and it strikes. So you breathe in this thing, and it becomes like a thunderball, and it strikes the infinitely black, rigid, rocky earth, which is the wrong conception of a self-existent I, attachment of taking more care of myself than of others, and of ordinary conception situated at the heart. So all this ego and self-cherishing is this hard, rocky mass, which you can almost feel, especially if something happens, like a car goes in front of you like that, and you feel this strong tightness in your chest. Me. So this thunderball, so you breathe in all the black suffering energy of the sentient beings, and in this case it's going realm by realm, and it smashes down on this, and that completely disappears, what you're self-cherishing, and you become full of light, you become enlightened. It strikes the infinitely black, rigid, rocky earth, which is the wrong conception of self, situated at the heart. This great rocky thunderball shatters the unimaginably large rocky earth of all my delusions and obscurations, the interruptions to my enlightenment, to pieces, as in an explosion of atoms, instantly disappearing, leaving only the mere emptiness of it all. I now achieve the Dharmakaya and Rupakaya, two holy bodies of the Buddha, and then you breathe out the light, enlightened energy to sentient beings through the left nostril. So we did the 9 round previous weeks a couple of times. Anyway, it all kind of comes together at the end. Lama Zopa, Rinpoche, Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun. It's on at lamayeshe.com. What is giving and taking? With a mind of compassion, you take on the suffering of others. With a mind of love, you give them happiness. The root text of the 7-point thought transformation says, giving and taking should be practiced alternately. In the Tibetan term, Tonglen, giving comes first. Tong means giving, and Len means taking. But in actual practice, you first train your mind in taking and then giving. It's okay at this point to train your mind in taking upon yourself suffering others, and leave aside the practice of giving. So I think we're out of time. So there's quite a bit more in this book too. So highly recommend it. And as I said, we have a strong connection with Ribu Rinpoche, because when we invited him here to Boston in about 20 years ago, that became one of the cooperative conditions for being able to buy this centre. We didn't have our own place. So Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche said by inviting Ribu Rinpoche here would remove obstacles to finding our own place. And that's exactly what happened. So it's kind of a joke, me talking about this topic, because my self-cherishing is stronger than anybody else's. But you can't believe how strong it is. But anyway, we went through at least we read Ribu Rinpoche's holy words, so maybe there's some benefit there. And as I said, Geshe will be back and continue teaching Bodhicitta probably next Sunday. So, I don't often think about these things, so it's been helpful for me. I'm sure it hasn't been too helpful for anyone else. Thank you.
Page 43 for short long life prayer for His Holiness. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chen Reizig remain in life till samsara's end. Page 49 for short long life prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. You uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjuna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, saving myself and others, your disciples. Please, please, live long. Page 57 for prayers of dedication. To this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Buddha me